Okay, welcome to another live stream. So, last night we had a few problems with Excel. Now, as a consequence, I seem to have made things a little bit better than they were before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go through the setup of what I've created and then we'll get into it. So the first thing is I'm going to open up the files and we'll get started. So I can put away some of these older folders. Now, sorry, I'm doing some of this off screen, so you can't see that, but what I'm doing is I'm going to be opening up all of the paint.net files. Now, what happened was with Excel, the problem is that all the calculations that I've basically created, they're slowing things down really quite a bit. So unfortunately there's not much for it except to move on from it and do it the other way. So what I've created is a series of towns, villages, hamlets and farms for each of the provinces. Now, in some of the other videos that I've done, I've already explained and showed these things. So this is the first time I'm going to test having all four of them open at the same time, as well as the four supporting files. So there's quite a bit of information that's going to be on the screen and available. So the first thing I'm going to show is, first thing I'm going to do is make sure that they're all four of them open. Sorry, all 8 of them open. And just waiting for the last one to come up. No, that's not what I wanted. Okay. Not enough memory to load the image. Okay, so that tells us a story. Okay, so this is one of the things that I face with regards to having too much information on the screen, or too many things open. Now, it may be that I can cut down on the size of the files, so we'll try that as well. I'll drop down to 2 of them, and then we'll just go and work through it. So the first thing I've got is I have the province of Stockark. Now, I'll zoom in on that. Okay, so first things first, we've got the XY coordinates of all these places. Then I'm going to remove the XY coordinates and I'm going to show on the map we've got the province name. I'm going to take that off as well. Then we're going to look at, we've got 2 towns, we've got Devlin and Bella. Now those 2 towns are on the coast of this province. Now the province off to the west, it continues around, there is a navigable river around there, but it's outside of the province. So the Valini peace accords are quite clear that until all of the undead infested towns, villages, hamlets and farms have been put to rest, until all of the undead in those towns, villages, hamlets and farms are put to rest in the crypts. There will be no expansion in other provinces, even though historically this used to be a lot larger, this barony. It used to be 9 provinces, and it's only 1 province now, and it hasn't had a baron for a long time. It's been independent. Effectively, the people of this region have got along quite well without. However, the Valini Peace Accords have changed that. So I'm going to now take away the tokens for the places. Okay, so we're going to zoom in firstly on Devlin. Now I'm going to take the place name Devlin, and I'm going to cut it and paste it just here. Okay, so there's Devlin. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up Devlin. So I believe this is where I'll find Devlin. So we have the town of Devlin right here. Now, all of the people in this particular province, they've all decided they're going to wait patiently for the Baron to arrive. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hide Devlin, and I'm going to go to the farms, and I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to firstly go to the people of the farms, and I'm going to cut them away. Alright, so I'm cutting them away. Now you might notice that they're still there. So what I've done is I've decided that I'm going to keep a hard copy on their home so that I can then find them again. So just going through, I'll cut off the top, there's no need for the top. Okay, I think we've got them all now. Don't want anyone to miss the party. Okay, so that's the last one. And nope, we've stuffed up there a little bit. Okay. Alright, so we're going to cut those out, and all these guys from all these farms, they're all going to go to Devlin. So now we're in Devlin, and I'm going to paste them all. Oops. Alright, what have I done there? best that I create a new layer before I get carried away. So here we go. So I'm going to zoom in on them and tidy them up. So the people of Gunzads, they're going to go to they're going to stay in this tavern here. There's 10 of them. We'll get to it a bit more. There'll be more people to concern ourselves with. So there's a few places here that are completely underoccupied in terms of they were once, they were once occupied, but Valini has basically become almost like ghost towns to a certain extent. Due to the civil war, the unrest, there were there was a lot of movement of children, for example, were sent off to live with relatives elsewhere and things like this. Okay, so just moving them into taverns and things like this. Now, the size of these, I mean, I've made them so that they are like residential districts and such. So, so these towns have. What have we got there? Looks like we had a name that was still associated. But I think we've got rid of that, and we've got rid of that one now. Okay, so I'm going to call this people from the towns. So, from the farms. Okay, so we've got people from the farms. They've moved to the town of Bella. No, sorry, Deblin. Sorry, they've moved to Deblin. Now I'm going to go to people of the villages. I'm going to do the same thing with them. So the people of the villages, where are we? We've got something else highlighted now. There we go. Alright, so layers are going to be a little bit critical. We're going to have to be careful about ensuring that we only take what we want to take. So I'm just going to go down, and first things I'm going to do is just strip off the top one. Now, as I said previously, they're still there, but they are pasted to the bottom of the bottom layer. They're pasted to the matte layer. So that's 1, 2, 3. Okay, we've got that one over there. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put them side by side. Okay. Oops. Let me zoom in too much. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so I think that's all of them. So we'll cut that, paste it, make sure, cut it again, and then we'll close that down. And we'll go back to Devlin. So we're back to the town of Devlin. I think we are. Alright. People from the farms. Okay, there. I've already I allocated them to taverns. Alright, so people of the villages. So we've got people of the farms, people of the villages. Okay, they're the people of the villages. Let's just say that all of those guys are all over in this tavern over here. And now we're going to go to the... Is it villages that I went and took them from? Okay. Now, this is one of the things I realised not long ago, was that I did remove any reference to whether it's a town or a village or a hamlet or a farm that the people are from. So really it just has the name of the place, which makes it a little bit difficult to ensure that I've got it right. So let's just go back a step and we will look at I think these are people of hamlets. These are, yeah, the people of the hamlets. So looking at the people of the hamlets, I think that this is the one. So for example, we'll go to this one here and we've got green, orange, red, and it's Chittabori. Yep, so this is actually people of the hamlets. Okay, people from the farms, people from the hamlets. Okay, so we're going to go back to alright, people of the villages. Alright, so people of the villages, I'll cut them. Oops. Okay, so as you can see, I just tried to cut from the wrong one. So I just tried cutting from people of the hamlets there. I need to cut from people, the villages. There we go. So I'm cutting from there. Okay, so that's that. Now I'm going to go back up to here, Devlin, and then I'm going to create a new one called people of the villages. Alright. So people of the villages, I'm going to paste that, and it doesn't conflict with, the main thing is that I don't want to conflict with anything else. So they're not. Okay, so now the problem that I've got with using paint.net, for example, is that I can merge them together, but then, you know, trying to stack them on top of each other is, you know, a little bit of a problem, because they're basically just images. They'll just paste over the top of each other and we won't see them. So what I've done with putting them onto hotels and things like this is pretty much just to get them out of the way temporarily. So what we've got is all these people have basically moved to this town, awaiting their overlord. So that's the people of Devlin plus all the people from the surrounding areas. So they've all gone to Devlin. Now the people of Bella are still in Bella. So the only people who are not in Devlin are the people of Bella. So because the Overlord has chosen to go to Devlin, they're just going to keep to themselves for the moment. Whether they see it as a bit of a snub or something like that, it's possible. But anyway, that's what we've got there. Now, I'm going to go over to back to this map here. So what we've got is, that's Devlin there. So all the people from all of these towns all over Stockark have come to Devlin. So they went to Devlin and they waited patiently all of yesterday, but the Baron didn't turn up. So, you know, as they would, they've decided, why leave a get-together go to waste? And so they have decided to have a bit of a party. The people who are at this party have, you know, they've really been at each other's throats for a long time. They've been fighting in this civil war, and they have been killing each other, you know, quite. Alright, where are we? Okay, so tokens. Alright, we've got place tokens, we've got geo tokens, we've got place names. Alright, so what we've got around the outside of this board are geopolitical players. Now each of these geopolitical players is also going to be, they're going to spread themselves out amongst the different baronies. So they're not going to all be in Devlin. Some of them are going to be in the other provinces. So let's not worry about them for the moment. Let's just look and focus on who's in town. So I'm going to randomly choose somebody. Okay, so this people here. So we've got people of Clet. We've got an artisan herbalist called Patient Imp. We've also got a artisan herbalist called Silver Ferret. Over here we've got people of Coas Krala. We've got another artisan herbalist, aquamarine mosquito, and we've got another artisan herbalist, platinum tiger. So these little towns, they're quite small. They don't have many people living at them, and they have basically seen their way through the Civil War as well as they possibly could. Whereas the people of the villages and hamlets, for example, they are a little bit more standoffish. We've got one here. There we go. So this one here is now overlapped with that. So the people of the villages, or the people of the hamlets. Okay, so the people of the hamlets have overlapped. Okay, that's better. Alright. So okay, so first things first. Okay, so right, so going back to the people of Mukkampal. Okay, so what we've got here is the people who are kind of the family that's in charge. There's 2 family units there, and what we have is some other families here, for example, that are also living in this hamlet. Now, the hamlet isn't a large hamlet. I'm just going to go to the hamlet and show you. So we're going to firstly click on hamlets. Okay, so hamlets. Okay, so the hamlet. Where are we? It's villages still. Okay, so this is the hamlets here. So this is the hamlet that our heroes are going to be from. Now I'm going to focus my attention on this group of 5 here. So I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to paste that into a Word document that I have off to the side. Oop, that's not what I wanted. Right, sorry. So I've highlighted it, but I'm not, as you can see, people of the hamlets. I'm not actually showing the people of the Stockach hamlets. So I need to, and I've also removed them already, so I need to go to that one there and then copy and then paste. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm going to create a story. And the story is going to be about Indigo Amarok, as well as Lithium Vengeance, as well as Elusive Eagle, as well as Rainbow Scorpion, as well as Cobalt Swan. So Indigo Amarok is the leader of this little band of merry misfits. So there's a hunter, a trapper, an apprentice hunter, an apprentice trapper, and a herbalist. And during the Civil War, I'm not going to tell you about what they were doing in the Civil War. The fact is that everybody in Valini has basically suffered through the Civil War. So the people of Valini waited patiently for the arrival of their new overlords. But waiting is boring without a few drinks. The innkeeper at one of the establishments closest to the docks was the first to notice the thirsty visitors to the town of Devlin, and consider the financial benefits of supplying their need before they even realised it. The Civil War had made it difficult to receive regular supply of some basic necessities unavailable from local manufacture or supply. Regular or local manufacturer or grower and yet fine liquor and ales from all over the world of Railstead had made their way here, considering the numbers of foreigners who had gone through port during the Civil War. Their tastes of beverages varied, but a few of the officers in charge of the garrison paid in advance for some fine, sparkling and bubbling grape and then, fortunately for him, pulled out at the end of hostilities without taking their cases of wine with red. Possibly aided by the fact that we didn't advise them of the shipment's arrival. Alright, so we've got that's the hamlet of Stockark. So I'm going to get out of there and I'm going to go back up to Devlin. So the town of Devlin, the people of the villages, people of the hamlets, people of the farms are all in town. So what we have is this one here. Alright, I'm going to go over to the actual people who live here. And I'm now going to look down through the list. Okay, so this is the list of people who live in Devlin. So the people who live in Devlin, we've got Master Alchemist, Wild Bee. Okay, so let's see. Wild Bee was quick to realize a sure thing. Okay, so Wild Bee. So this is Wild Bee. Wild Bee lives in the town. So he's a person from the town of Devlin. So he's people of Devlin. So click on that, and I'm copying that, and I'm now going to paste that into okay, so now we've got Wild Bee as being the tavern keeper. So Wild Bee owns the tavern. He's also made this the tavern. So the keep, the central keep in the town, is the tavern. So while everyone's staying in these inns around throughout the town, the people are partying in here. So this is the party house. Now I'm just going to do it roughly so that you can see. So I'm going to go back up to the map, zoom in away from Muck Kampal. I'm going to zoom back in on Devlin, and I'm going to consider where the docks will be. Now, I believe that the docks should be in through this breach. There should be a breach in the wall just here. So I'm going to put that breach in right now. So I'm going to firstly click on the map. I'm going to click on there. I'm going to then select 5 point, and I'm going to put a tower here. Oops, somebody didn't like that. Okay, back to there. I'm going to select the okay, so tower there, tower there. Then I'm going to put breach through here, and I'm going to put docks in here. Okay, so that's that. Now I'm going to then do the same thing over here. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to paste it, an approximate location of where I want it, copy and paste another one. Now I'm going to zoom in, I'm going to move it a little bit more, and that looks great. Alright, now I'm just going to go up here. Oops. Now, little trick. So the thing is that when you do some modifications like this, really is important to create another layer and then make your modifications on the other layer. You can then merge down. So the first thing I need to do is make sure that I've got everything right before I merge down. So I'm just making these modifications in paint.net, and they are not going to be appearing in the Excel document until I make some modifications to them. So what I've got in mind is that so that's 20. We'll do that again. So that's 20. The breach in the wall right now, that's a 20-foot breach. So that's not too shabby. And I'm going to put an archway, so there'll be an archway through here. So I'm going to leave that with a portcullis. So I can find a portcullis somewhere around here. It's not a perfect portcullis, but it does the job. So I'm going to go back to this, and then I'm going to copy that. Then I'm going back to this layer here, and I'm going back to the breach that I created, and I'm going to put, where do I paste it? Just down here. Bit of a problem when it does that, so let's just zoom in a bit more. Alright, there we go. And zooming back out. Okay, now I'm going to rotate it, and I'm going to now stretch it out like so. Now, zooming in. Sorry, because it's a pretty thin construction that I'm working with. So now, where do I want it to go from? I'm just going to put it underneath. So where it was before was kind of good. Halfway. So that's going to go from tip to tip, and zooming out. And now we're going to get some water going. So we'll zoom in on that. Oops, sorry. Alright, so we're going to grab the line. We're going to make it 60 point. Oops, that didn't work for some reason. Because we're still highlighted. Okay, so now I'm going to grab the line. 60 point, nope. we want, let's go for a 300 point. So 300 point all the way from top now. You can see that it's trying to go and poke into the stonework. I don't really want that to be the case, so that'll do for the moment. We'll tidy that up a little bit more later. I'm kind of going for a straight line there. Then we're going to jump out of that, jump into a 100 point, and then we're going to put a 100 point top to bottom. To seal it up. Okay, so that's our dock. So we've got a breach in the wall, and that's where the dock is. So that was relatively easy. I'm going to just save that. I'm going to save as day 1 and 2. Right. Oh, I'll call it day 1. Alright, so I'm saving that as day 1. Okay. So people of Lenny waited patiently for the arrival of their new overlords, but waiting is boring without a few drinks. The innkeeper at one of the establishments closest to the docks. Well, that's not where he is. He's the innkeeper who had called the central keep of the town of Devlin his home for more than 20 years, was the first. Was the first to notice the thirsty visitors to the town of to his town. As they stirred uneasily in the sun, despite cold and threatening rain. He was also the first to consider the financial benefits of supplying their need before they even realized it. Disposing of some overpriced, overrated lolly water that was taking Cellar space. The Civil War had made it difficult to receive regular supply of some basic necessities and necessities unavailable from local manufacturer or grower, and yet fine liquor and ales from all over the world of Ralsted had made their way here to his town. Especially considering the number of foreigners who had gone through the port during the bleeding Civil War. Most especially the... okay, so this is going to be a... especially considered Duckin regimental commander and his cronies. Their taste in beverages varied, but a few of the officers in charge of the garrison paid in advance for some fine, sparkling and bubbling grape, and then, fortunately for him, pulled out at the end of hostilities without taking their cases of wine with them, possibly aided by the fact that he didn't advise them of the shipment's arrival, while B was quick to realise a sure thing. So, now, Indigo Amarok. So Indigo Amarok is, as I said previously, he's going to be this individual here from Muck Kampal. Okay, so he's from Muck Kampal, and he is now awakening from a hangover. He awoke with a mouth that was strange. He thought he'd tasted, he thought he remembered having once had a brief encounter with a similar taste in the wilderness. That was immediately spat out at that time, but he didn't seem to have spat anything out. Now, his head was covered in straw, and the rain had penetrated every layer of clothing he was wearing. Or was it the moat? He vaguely remembered that challenge. With Lithium Vengeance. His comrade for more than 10 years. And Blood Brother since his first wound during the Civil War, during the war. The challenge of diving off the topmost battlement of Wild Bee's Tavern into the moat. The bubbles, the bubbling. Was supposedly safe to drink. Master Alchemist Wild Bee had brewed him many a strange draft in the past. However, Master Wild Bee didn't usually bottle his brews in crystal bottles with corks that flew yards into the air when popped just right. Berlin concoction was supposedly safe to drink, but if diving 50 feet under diving 50 feet into a dirty, into a murky moat of questionable depth was what happened to those who drank it. He wasn't so sure. Master Alchemist Wild Bee had brewed him many a strange draught in the past. However, Master Wild Bee didn't usually bottle brews in crystal bottles with corks that flew yards in the air when popped just right. In fact, his pillow seemed to be just such a bottle, with its cut design pressing into his cheek. Not painful, as his face was still asleep. Rolling off the bottle and onto his back, he opened his eyes. Alright, so all these people have been drinking, well, I'm going to call it sparkling white, or sparkling red. Anyways, it's not something that normally the people of Velini would drink. It's a little bit extravagant, and yet it's basically got a Wild Bee has found a ready market for it after the no-show of the Baron. So each of the provinces, each of these provinces is going to have an overlord. So part of the Velini peace accords was that the people of Velini accept that this area is being disputed, and that there's nothing they can really do aside from, well, they ended the war on their own terms, but they also realised that this problem's not going to end unless they entertain the idea, at the very least entertain the idea of having some imperial involvement. Now when I say imperial, I'm talking about the empires through the kingdoms or the duchies, through to the earls, and it's really the earls of the surrounding area around the earldom of Velini. So the Earl of Velini kind of kept out of the shenanigans. There's a lot of reasons why the Earl of Velini didn't get involved, and some people blame the Earl of Velini for not stopping these incursions from foreign mercenaries, and also then the actual kind of invasion of Velini by regular forces from the surrounding earldoms. So anyways, so yes, Velini peace accords, and it was settled that each of the provinces will have a baron in charge of them once again. So the people of Lee, they haven't had a ruler for a long time, but they're prepared to adjust. The baron was due to arrive in the province of Stockark yesterday. The people waited patiently at the dock. No arrival. Wild Bee has basically taken the opportunity to get rid of some of the bubbles that he's had since the occupation, and he's sold it cheap, and there's bottles and bottles and bottles, and everybody participated. So, yes, the no-show. There was quite a bit of discussion about what to do, um, about what to do with with regards to the future, what to do with regards to the plans to the plans to go through the province and seek out the towns and villages, hamlets and farms that were once populated. So 1,000 years before the War of the Gods caused great upheaval and destruction, the town of Devlin has been rebuilt, repaired and rebuilt. Substantial damage was done, but it has been repaired in that 1,000 years. But during that time, like, so many people died, people fled, they became refugees and fled to the different earldoms, and word has it that there's going to be some of these people who have been away from Velini for a long time, if they've never been here at all, but their families, ancestors once lived in the province, that there's people who are going to be coming back. The locals are very happy because their children, the children that they quite frequently sent away from the Troubles, that their children will be returning. So the families will be reunited as well. So pieces. There is stability. There's been no violence for a number of weeks. There's still petty feuds. There's also quite a bit of concern about whether there'll be people trying to make up for some of the things that were done during the Civil War. Some of the actions, each of these individuals who lives in the province of Stockark has basically, they've got their secrets. They've done some things that maybe in peacetime they would never dream of doing, but during war, they've done some things that they don't want to think about and don't want to do any. They don't want to renew the conflict, but they certainly, some of them still have some leftover debts to be settled, and the peace it's hopefully going to stay. People have had enough of war, and they certainly don't want to renew the conflict. However, the pending arrival of a baron and the oversight of barons, the fact that they'll be required for militia duty, they've been informed that that's part of the Velini Peace Accords, is that they will be donating a month of their time to whatever baron is in charge of their province. There are certain rules about what they will and will not participate in, but there's also been talk about ongoing work, mercenary work for the locals, that the locals can go out and be well paid to participate in some of the politics that's going to be coming to the area. The guilds have been talking about pushing out and trying to find, reclaim some of the territories that they had for their guilds. The priests, the high priests, have been discussing, their altars that are out there that need to be replaced and repaired and things like this. And also they pay lip service to the dead that need to be buried. But everyone agrees that the dead being buried is what they want. These walking dead are their ancestors, the ones that weren't buried, the ones that weren't cared for in death, treated with respect. So this will be an opportunity for the locals to assist in trying to heal that old wound of having their ancestors as walking dead. So so everyone's agreed on assisting with certain militia duties for the Baron, but not all are agreed on what things they will and won't participate in. So what we've got is Indigo Amarok waking up, and he wakes up in the courtyard and lying on the grass, covered in hay, straw, and sleeping on a crystal bottle. Now, his group is this one here. So his group, I'll cut him out of there. He's from the hamlet. I'll cut him out. Alright. And I'm going to place him here with, well, I'm placing him there, but the thing is that, you know, where the rest of his comrades are, I'm not sure. Now, just randomly jumping over here, and I'm going to firstly work out if they're from a village, hamlet, farm. They're from a farm. So what we've got here is another group of 5. These people are from the farm of Jaslow. So Violet Finch is one of the adventurers in this group. Now, Jaslow is... Oops, what's that? Don't like that. Right, there we go. So, I believe that's because I didn't save it. So I'm going to save as day 1. Okay, so that's saying day 1. Alright, so Jaslow. Yeah, Jaslow, it's close by. Thought I remembered it was just close by. So Jaslow is this town, this farm here. Now, place names, Jaslow, and then move Jaslow down to here. So this is the farm of Jaslow, and so as I said before, we've got everybody sleeping. I'm just going to close these off, and I'm going to go back to this one here so that we don't have any confusion. So okay, all around him Indigo Amarok could see his companions as well as those from other villages, hamlets and farms of the province of Stockard. A few yards away, Indigo Amarok noticed. Right, Violet Finch. Violet Finch. Resting her leg outstretched. As with her back against the... Now, where the hell is she going to put her back against? That was silly, wasn't it? Well, really, there's nowhere for her to put her back against. Back against her pack. Looking at him with distaste, similar to a visual representation of the state of his mouth. He'd shot her in the leg. Six months ago, as she escorted a group of Caesar II mercenaries through a group of Caesar II mercenaries through Stockard. He did like her. Well, at least who she was before the war. Now he wasn't sure how he felt, knowing that she was a Scissors to supporter. One step out of the grave. If some of the locals knew what some of the secrets he knew of her. He shot her in the leg out of memory of who she was before and not who she became or was now. Who knew who they were now. He'd done his own fair share of terrible things. How could you judge her? The arrow to the leg was a compliment or forgiveness or understanding. He didn't care what she thought of him. She didn't care what she saw of him, really. It was hard enough to just get by after your comrades and closest those who were close hadn't betrayed. Betrayed you yet. Indigo Amarok said to himself as he struggled to his feet and promptly staggered sideways. Without control to end up in the moat once again. Alright, so now we've got this group of 5 with Indigo Amarok, and we have a little bit of information. We've got Violet Finch. Now, I'm also going to just randomly, I'm not doing this by any sort of design, so I've cut these ones out here, I've cut one out of here, I'll cut this one out of here, oops, okay, so these are Hamlet people again. So I'm going to cut this one here. And I'm going to paste this one here. Okay, so Indigo Vulture, no relationship. Just speaking about just quickly the people having 2-part aliases. So this is pretty much all because of the Civil War. People have been using these aliases to protect their own identities, but also protect their families from any kind of ideas of vengeance against their families for their actions. So the war's over, but the local people are, they're quite firm in the use of aliases. It's become a cultural norm. It's not likely to go away. They've got quite used to it. So now we have the splash caused by Indigo Amarok hitting the moat surface. Awoke Indigo Vulture, Harrison, herbalist of the hamlet of Chittabori. Now Chittabori, let's have a look at Chittabori. So Chittabori is over here. So as I said, we've got Muck Campul over here. That's the hamlet of Muck Campul. We've got the little farm of Jaslo over here, and now we've got Chittabori, which is on the coast over here. So from a restless sleep. He'd only had a single bottle of wild bees, ridiculous, bubbling wine. But even so, could fully understand why Indigo Amarok was currently entertaining a frog spawn and midden water that made up the contents of the moat. Okay, so I'm going back again. Indigo Finch. Her companions. Mercury Vengeance, Wild Duck, Blue Bee, and Gold Jaguar were also known to have similar pro Caesars 2. Indigo, Amarok didn't know them or care much about them. He'd shot Violet Finch in the leg out of memory of who she was, blah blah. Right. So now, just wanting to make sure that I introduce companions. So yeah, I didn't do that quite all that well. Okay, so we've already discussed Lithium Vengeance, Elusive Eagle, his other companions, Elusive Eagle, Rainbow, Scorpion, and Cobalt. One. We're wagering we're opposed to the dive. For which he was thankful. In that even though they didn't try to stop him physically, they still cared enough about his survival. Cruelly yelling insults and alerting the entire town to his antics in an attempt to talk him out of it, which he was thankful. They knew better than to try to stop him physically, and he was touched that they still cared enough about his survival after all these years. Alright, so we've just introduced those guys as well. Yeah, so we've got Indigo Amarok heating the surface of the moat. Herbalist from Chiboro from the Restless Sleep. Single bottles, blah blah blah. Entertain the frog spawn. Yet he had something important to do today. All right, so we've got to we've got something. He had something important to do today, and so hadn't continued drinking. What he had to do today involved Indigo Amarok as well as kept alight by his aquamarine tiger. who didn't sleep very much. It was too uncomfortable. Around the large numbers of people at the party. And was barely seen through the night. Anyway, we can get to that later. Alright, so we've got, I'll keep writing, but the thing is I don't need to do this. I'd like to be able to do this multitasking, do it at the same time, be able to process moves, do some dialogue, I don't know, got stuck into doing description and stuff like that. So anyway, what we've got is, 4 individuals. We've got Master Alchemist Wild Bee, who is, well, he's from one of the oldest families in Devlin, who basically got everyone roaring drunk, and then the intention is that the 4 of these individuals are now going to make a move. So anyway, I'm going to cover that. I'll start a new video with that in mind. Just won't be long. I mean, I've been going on for an hour and 42 minutes, so I'm just going to take a quick break and then I'll come